Hey, Engraver here. Welcome back to my channel and Happy New Year to you. Happy 2020. Today I wanted to talk to you about how we can effectively set priorities as artists getting into the new year. And I have 3 tips for you. The first tip is to be as specific as possible. Be as specific as possible. Home in on exactly what you aim to create and home in on exactly what you want to do. What you want to do presently and what you want to do in the future. And it requires being very, very specific. So if you can find something you want, be more specific than that. I'll give you an example. For several years, I've known that I've wanted to be a composer. I've composed at the universities and I've composed outside the universities. And really starting in 2019, I've been marketing my music. I've produced a couple of albums this year, and I'm working hard to market those as well as composing for more releases, whether that's an album or a single track in the future. And so as I'm working toward creating prolific quality content, I'm constantly reevaluating what it is I want to do. So it's not enough to being a composer. I came out of the graduate studies having my professor ask me, well, what do you want to do after school? And I remember saying, I don't know, but I know it's going to be composing music and I know it's going to be electronic music. So I had that much. But getting into the real world and finding my feet with a full-time job, I thought I wanted to compose for anything. I thought it'd be enough to make money, make a living as a composer in any respect, whether that was for film or for games, for commercials, writing jingles, or even sound design. Because I loved sound, I thought, well, I want to be a sound designer. And I realized that's not the case. And it took me 1 to 2 years finding that out, finding that, well, no, actually, I really don't want to compose commercially all the time. Now, if I'm presented with a project, some film that has an epic story and maybe it's taking place in some science fiction setting, of course, I'll give it a go. If it's a great story, if it's a great project, I would be happy to produce music for such a project. But it wasn't until 1 to 2 years in, I remember standing in my living room with my violin. This is 2 years after getting my master's in music composition, thinking, okay, no, I want to compose anything. I stood there with my violin and I just started improvising and I just started getting really experimental and just stopping maybe after 15 or so minutes on this sheer freestyle improvisation on my violin. I'm thinking, no, I can't just compose commercially. I have to compose experimentally. I have to compose electronic music, incorporate some violin, incorporate some electroacoustics, but I have to get back to that love that I had developed in the school, the academic setting that included experimentation and acoustics and electroacoustics. So I thought, no, it's not enough to market original music. It's not enough to be a composer. I want to be a composer in electronic music and electroacoustic music as I build my skill in SuperCollider. So my music must include experimentation on some level, to some degree. So we've got composer, yes, but we've got marketing electronic music that includes experimentation. Electronics, electroacoustics, whatever, but it has to be marketable. It also has to be experimental. Tip number 2, don't do everything you love to do. You can't do everything you love to do. I love playing violin. I love the instrument. I've played for over 2 decades, about 22 years, give or take. I did take a couple years off in my graduate studies, but I have played for a number of years. And all that said, I hope to master a lot of classical violin repertoire in the course of my life. There are a lot of pieces, seminal pieces that I love, that I would love to play. I love gigging. I love performing, popular standards and jazz standards and the like. And I hope to perform more of that music in the future. I love freestyle improvisation. I love kind of fiddling around with traditional American fiddle music. all that to say is I love violin. I love performing. But I've noticed over the last couple of years, especially with teaching, where, in some cases teaching is rewarding, but it can be a bit hard. It's a bit arduous, and I do prefer performing to teaching. And people say, well, you should get out there and you should perform. And I'm thinking, yeah, I can. And actually, I can make more money performing than I can teaching. But something has always held me back. And I struggled with this for a year or so, getting into teaching and asking myself why I don't picture myself performing, or why I'm not shooting for that, why I'm not going to restaurants and asking managers if they need live music for violin and having sophisticated backtracks with my sophisticated PA system, and I'm just kind of struggling with that thought, and this is what it comes down to. As much as I love performing, it is in my heart, it's what would bring me so much joy, and that is performing original music, performing my compositions. I do want to perform the greats again. I want to perform great violin literature, and I want to master some traditional Irish fiddle music, but it's not at the core of my heart. The core of my heart is actually performing my own original music. So I've been spending the time away from teaching, the hours that I don't teach, I spend the time composing and building that, and hope to, use even SuperCollider and different things like that, where I am doing electroacoustics, where I'm incorporating experimental electronic music with my violin. That's been my treasure. That's what I have learned to cherish, and that's why I've learned to say no to trying out for performing instead of teaching right now, because I'm thinking, no. I love the popular classics, I can play Fly Me to the Moon, I can play Autumn Leaves, I can play those things like, A minor swing and all of that. And I love that. I love it. But it's not my calling, so to speak. It's not what is driving me forward and producing that amount of joy. I love it, but I can't do it. I can't forfeit the time I am composing to pursuing that, as cool as it would be to make money as a performer. If I am a performer, yes, classics, that's fine, but I really do want to perform my own original music. I have great ideas. I'm not at the skill set yet. I don't have the equipment yet for the stuff I'm dreaming in my mind, but that's all coming. So anyway, that is what I've learned in the last couple of years, especially the last year. As much as I've wanted to perform and love it, I'm thinking, no, this isn't it. This isn't it. It has to be original music. I remember one of the studio owners one of the studios I work at. He said, Michelle, you would really get well known if you did cover songs, because apparently, especially on YouTube, musicians get their bank and they get their fame, so to speak, covering these popular songs. And they can be great songs, but that's not what I want to be known for. If I am known for anything, I want to be known for my original music. So that is tip number 2. You cannot do everything you love to do. So really get specific on what it is you have to do, and get specific on, hey, that is what I love to do too. So you have to do it, something you have to do, and something you love to do. Because you will find that you may love a lot of things, but they're not worth your time, at least not as much as what you ought to do as an artist. All right, tip number 3, the third tip on how to effectively set your priorities as an artist. Understand the time it's going to take and execute measurable action. You can see these as 2 different things, but definitely understand the time it's going to take. I dream up a lot of things, musically speaking, whether I'm commuting or washing dishes or even lying in bed before I go to sleep. I dream up these things, these pieces of music and this artistic voice that I'm not there. I'm not quite there yet. I really have in mind to produce a lot of great music, but I'm not at that capability. I'm not at that skill set yet, and I know this. You have to develop a very acute sense of self-awareness, knowing where you are as an artist, where you want to be as an artist, and being okay with where you are as an artist, even if your skills are not quite there or you've not gained a certain skill set to get to where you want to be. For instance, I have not scratched the surface of SuperCollider. There's so much potential in SuperCollider. There's so much potential in sound synthesis that I haven't even looked at because I'm not there as far as understanding the software and understanding the language. And there's a lot of stuff in SuperCollider I'm seeing where I understand that math could be really applicable and really useful. I didn't go past algebra as a music major. It's kind of pathetic, but you didn't need to go past algebra, or maybe second year algebra, if that's a thing still. And it's really quite sad how little math you need to be a music major. But the more I get into sound synthesis, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, the stuff I want to do with sound synthesis and electroacoustic music and all that, it could take a number of years. It could take 2 to 3 to 5 years before I have enough understanding to grasp exactly what I need to do, exactly what I want to do with music. And I'm considering looking into calculus. And I don't even think I made it past pre-calculus. I even think I dropped out before I could fail. So knowing SuperCollider and understanding SuperCollider and the potential with that software and the potential with sound synthesis, I'm thinking, oh my goodness, I need to learn math again and start from scratch. And I'm in my 30s now, going back thinking, I really need to apply some math in my life and in the course of this experimentation with composing music and all of that. So the things that I want to do and that artistic voice that I want to achieve, I'm not there yet. It's going to take a number of years. This could take another decade. I really don't know. However, I do know it's years in the making. People ask me my progress and what exactly it is I want to do with my music, and I say to them, I have a very specific thing in mind, but I am years from acquiring that. I'm years of practicing hours every day and troubleshooting and experimenting and all of that. I'm years. Now, I'm going to give it, I did say understand the time it's going to take. For me, what I want to do is going to take years. It's going to take a great deal of time. I'm not discouraged by that because the more I do practice, and this is for another video, but the more I do practice, the more I see that I learn the things at an exponential rate. The fruit of your practice and productivity is at an exponential rate over time. So that is quite encouraging. All that to say is I do have to continue practicing, and I know it will be probably 2 to 3 years at the very least before I acquire the skills I need to make the music I need, to make the music I want. I love composing the music I do right now, but it is nothing to what I have in mind in the future. So those are the 3 tips on how to effectively set priorities as an artist. The first tip is to be as specific as possible. If you have something, be more specific. If you have that, be more specific. Kind of peel the layers. Get to the core of what you need to do, what you want to do, and what you aim to create. And the second tip is you can't do everything you love to do. Something has to go as far as your schedule and your time is concerned. Even if you love to do it, even if you enjoy doing it, when you're as specific as possible, you understand what you have to give up in your schedule. And the third tip is understand the time it's going to take and execute measurable actions. So hopefully you enjoyed that. Hopefully it gets the ball rolling as you work on your craft into this new year, and hopefully inspires you to consider how you would market your art. So thanks always for watching and listening. Always be on the lookout for some sound experimentation every Thursday. that's so far in the schedule for this coming year. And I will provide more commentary like this on what it is like to be an artist and what you can do to be effective and productive and prolific as an artist. And if you have steps of your own or tips on how to effectively set priorities as an artist, please leave them in the comments below, and be sure to subscribe for some music and experimentation and all that good stuff. And I will see you next time. Thank you so much for watching, and have a happy new year.